Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, good night, and welcome to Digital Leader Salon with me, Simon Wallfisch.
And me, Edward Rushton.
We are very, very happy to be here again together on a pre-recorded video this time. We did try and do live. It turns out when you're doing a live video, you must make sure you get home in time to start the video. We're going to do pre-recorded from now on. You'll be glad to hear, and thank you for everybody for all of your patience for last week's break, which we had to have for very good reason because Mr. Edward Rushton, over to you.
Yes, thank you indeed for putting up with the week's break. I was kind of tied up last week by the arrival of our new baby, and so thank you everyone who I understand wrote on Simon's Facebook page to congratulate us for the birth of Edgar.
Yeah.
Yeah. But life moves on, and we're back on track for some more digital leader salons. And I'm very happy to be back again, talking to Simon virtually about some Brahms today.
And it's going to be Brahms Opus 105, Wie Melodien, zieht es mir. Edward, what can you tell us about this song?
Well, I don't know. Let me just start talking about it and see if there's anything interesting that emerges. Everyone knows this song. It's one of his sort of greatest hits. But it's a very difficult poem to understand. And I remember as a student coming to my leader classes with Erwin Gage in Zurich, here in Switzerland. And this song came up, and we prepared it, the way you do, and you practice, and you rehearse together, and then you come into the class and you sing it, and then your teacher says, "So, what's it about?"
I hate it when they ask that. God.
And this was a really good lesson for me back then, because I've always tried to avoid being put on the spot like that, and I've actually tried to find out what songs are about before I present them to an audience, even if that audience is just your teacher. Now I know what it's about, but I didn't then. I just thought, oh, this is a beautiful song, and I hadn't given it any thought. And the thing is that what I preach to my students as well, and probably have talked about on Digital Leader Salon to you guys too, is that a song is as much about the words as it is about the music. And so it's crucially important to understand what is in the poem, what the poem might have also said to the composer, who then took that poem and turned it into music. So now it's a poem that Brahms said when he was an old man. And
this is definitely a bearded Brahms composition, isn't it? Brahms full beard.
Absolutely, lots of beard, white beard, grey beard, and I think it's also good to it's worth knowing that he was an old man, because it sort of sums up something about what it means to compose. It's one of those songs about. It's my favorite theme here. It's a song about what it means to be a composer. It's a poem about what it means to be a poet, or rather, not what it means to be a poet, but how to write poetry. And the thing is that I didn't understand was that the word S in the title and in the first line is very important to understand. Wie Melodien zieht es mir durch den Sinn, leise durch den Sinn. And for someone who, like me, who's English speaking, it's really difficult to kind of get a grasp on this S, it. To a literal translation of the poem, of the first line, you would say sort of like melodies, it is pulling quietly through my mind. It. So there's this sort of impersonal it, which we have also in English as in it's raining. But there's a lot more of that in German. So there's this a force at work, a supernatural force or something superhuman that's happening here that is drawing a melody, or something like a melody rather, across the poet's mind. And if you understand that, then you know immediately what the poem is about, and then therefore what the song is about. And this is what my poor long-suffering teacher back then in Zurich had to tell me, had to spoon-feed me, because I didn't realize that it was about poetry, about inspiration, about an idea. The S, that it is an idea, is the thing you want to write a poem about.
It's
So
and just
sorry, Simon. Yeah.
yeah, no, absolutely. It's a thing. It's untouchable somehow, and
Exactly.
trying to describe what is this thing. And wie Frühlingsblumen blüht es, with like spring flowers. It blooms and schwebt wie Duft dahin, and goes like sort of air past. And it's something. It's almost like when you get that kind of artistic inspiration, you don't want to grab hold of it too firmly because you might break it. You don't want to look at it too directly because it might disappear. You just have to have it there in your peripheral, sort of smell it, sort of see it, and just try and grasp it. And I think that is the essence of of being creative and having a sudden idea. How can I bring this emotion into something touchable that then can affect the next person receiving it on an emotional level? And that's what we're doing all the time.
That's
is
right,
that a load
exactly.
of bollocks?
And so what Klaus Groth, who was do you have some noises?
There's a train. I'm right by the train.
All right.
The S-Bahn. Yeah.
So the word for train in German is Zug, which comes from ziehen, which means pull. Train also comes from trainer, from pulling. So we're staying in the same area. There's a train's been pulled by Simon's window, and now we're talking about melodies or things like melodies being pulled across our mind. Yes, so Klaus Groth is the poet, and he was a friend of Brahms. And what he's trying to encapsulate in the poem is exactly there are three stages to creating a poem, and there are three verses in this poem. So the first one is exactly about the inspiration, like you were saying. It's something completely intangible. It's like a draft. Like something is being drawn across. Yeah, es zieht also is the German for there's a draft, which Simon you know a lot about because probably about 50% of the conversation you have as a singer amongst singers in Germany, in a Hochschule or in an opera house is es zieht here.
Es zieht hier.
There's a draft. You've got to shut a window.
It's very dry. Es ist sehr, sehr trocken. Und es zieht. Und es ist auch heiß. Und es ist auch kalt. Maybe you should have just done more practice and be more confident in your voice before you start complaining about the architecture.
So there's a draft in my mind that something's being pulled across like melodies. And then it just disappears. Like the blossom, the spring, the scent of spring flowers, it just disappears. And he's talking about the idea. Okay, I've got an idea for a poem. But it's something magical, something ungraspable, intangible. Second verse. But I'm a poet, so therefore I deal with words. It's about the handicraft, the artisanship of being a poet. Is your tools are words. Doch kommt das Wort. So the words come along, and they do grab it. They turn something intangible into something tangible. They grab hold of it. Doch kommt das Wort und fasst es. It's really, really grab. And führt es vor das Auge. It sort of drags it back and puts it here in front of your eyes so you can really see it. And you have to give it a name. You see, if you've got this idea, which might be a dream or a picture or a feeling of love or something like that, and you've got to make words out of it. And then the poet says, at that point, we've had the scent of spring blossoms, but at that point it becomes pale, like grey fog, and disappears.
Yeah,
Schwindet
just exactly.
wie ein Hauch, disappears like a breath. So something that's been intangible and has been, what's the word? It's schwebt wie Duft dahin, it sort of floats along like perfume, has been grabbed, turned into words, and has, like a grey fog, disappeared. So it's been grasped and then has disappeared again. In other words, the magic, the inspiration, the essence of the idea has been killed by the attempt to turn it into a poem. So that's stage 2 of writing a poem. At that point, a lot of people think, no, it's rubbish. I've killed it. I had this great idea, and I'm trying. I've gone through 15 drafts and I've chucked them all in the bin, and I'm not happy with it. I'm not happy. It's nothing like what I intended. And then, so the third stage is, of course, well, actually, dennoch ruht im Reime verborgen wohl ein Duft. So, the rhymes here stands for being a poet, poetry. I can make something artistic out of it because there is still there's an essential part of it that I can capture and turn into something artistic, artificial. A rhyme is artificial, but through this act of creative just sort of willpower and alchemy, I take what's left out of this idea, what's kind of emerged out of the ashes of the way I've killed it through trying to write about it. There's something, there's a perfume in there, the essence of it. And what makes it actually turn into something beautiful is the fact that ein feuchtes Auge, that is my having been affected emotionally by this idea, means that I'm able to create something artistic out of it. So to sum up again, the third stage of writing a poem, in the words of Klaus Groth, und dennoch ruht im Reime verborgen wohl ein Duft, but still there is a perfume hiding within the rhyme, den mild aus stillem Keime ein feuchtes Auge ruft, which my damp eye, in other words, my being affected by it, my being moved by it, can call up into being. So there we are. That's how to
Wonderful.
write a poem.
Yeah, and
you have an idea. First, you kill it, and then you turn it into something beautiful.
And it's yet verborgen im Reime, so it's hidden in the poetry, in the rhymes. So it's, even though the words themselves might seem dry and sort of tasteless, actually within the whole thing you'll be affected, and it does call up the tear from the eye. And that is the magic of poetry, and how we are really obliged as singers and pianists, when we work on these songs, to try and get to the essence of the poetry, or at least try and imagine that we've worked out what the composer was thinking when he or she put these words to music. What was the process behind that? And we'll never know, but the act of looking and discovering is what we really need to be doing. I first got to know this song actually as a cellist, because this is one of the many most beautiful songs of Brahms that are quite popular with cellists, because it's such a beautiful soaring melody, and I think this was one of the first Brahms songs when I did become a singer that I picked up, because I knew it was familiar to me, but actually Après un rêve is another piece that cellists like to play. I doubt that 2% of cellists even look at the words, let alone try and get to the bottom of the poetry. And what a shame, because we're given such a gift to here come the needles. We're given such a gift to with the poetry and the songs, to take it, give it a whole other dimension. Something that's already beautiful music, and it's enough even if you don't understand the words. But how much more exciting is it if you can really get it? Yeah. Should we have a go, or
wait a minute? There's just a couple of things. Yeah, I know people like to listen to actual music but there's so much to say. Of course, the thing is that it has the word melodies in the title, so it's it's like, okay, let's play this piece as an instrumental piece, because it's about how beautiful the melody is, and of course it is a truly beautiful, sensational melody that Brahms has set these words to. But of course you miss so many dimensions if you play it, or like you said, Après un rêve as an instrumental piece. But he in fact used the melody in the second violin sonata, Opus 100, where it sort of makes a coded appearance as the second theme in the first movement. So obviously he was hat sich beschäftigt. He was thinking about these ideas at that time of his life. And I think what before we actually play some music, there's something that I think is quite interesting. As I said, it was written by Brahms when he was a very old man. It says here, published in 1889. So it wasn't that old. He was 66 or something, 67. But it's maybe 7-8 years before he died, and he obviously felt like an old man as well. So at this time he was summing up his ideas about mortality in the Vier Ernste Gesänge as well. And you can imagine a young man, I think Klaus Groth was a young man when he wrote the poem, but Brahms is an old man setting it. And if you're confronted with an idea like this, how difficult it is to actually compose, how difficult it is to actually make a beautiful work of art out of an idea without killing it. At a certain point setting this poem, you're thinking, well, you know, has my life actually had any value to it? When he gets to the bit in the poem that says, wie Nebelgrau verblasst es und what does it say? Verschwindet wie ein Hauch. You know, it's like all my life, for 60 years, I've been trying to nail down ideas, like putting pins through butterflies to put them in a museum, and it just kills them. It turns them into grey ash instead of the beautiful, colourful, sort of, what's the word when something flüchtig? Something that's just something ungraspable that music is, of course, because it's sound. And maybe my whole life's work's been a waste of time. And then the consolation comes, of course, in the third verse, where it says, well, actually, we can do something nice out of it after all. You know, we're able, through our artistry, but also through our emotional engagement with the material, to make beautiful things, to make rhymes, to make poetry and music. So it's very, very moving to think of Brahms as an old man thinking about these ideas. Okay, that's what I wanted to say.
Wonderful, Edward. No, I mean, actually, what you say is incredible, and probably you've had about 2 hours sleep over the last three nights with your new baby, and the way you've described what we do and what composers do and poets and then performers and recreators of that is absolutely perfect. You know, you're putting a pin in a butterfly to try and preserve the butterfly, and then you kill it.
Yeah.
And you sing or you make music, and it's sound, and it's gone. It's gone even after the moment you've produced it. It's gone, and we can't preserve it. We can't even. You know, what are you going to do with a CD in your hand when you've got no? Anyway, so that's all going to get cut. What should we do, Eddie? Shall we?
Well, let's do a bit of music. Why don't we try and sing it?
Yeah. Now we're talking.
You can hear our listeners can hear how Brahms has found such a beautiful way of describing in sound this idea of the intangible, the scent. It's like in the cartoons, isn't it? When the dog in Tom and Jerry smells a chicken roasting or something, and you have this sort of bit of smoke that comes, and he's asleep, and then
he floats along the.
So es zieht ihm durch den Sinn, and Brahms has given us these interconnecting, interflowing melodies, Wie Melodien. So he's really and the way they interconnect. Contrapuntally, one going up while the other one goes down, so there's this sort of overlapping, but also in terms of rhythm, one of them is with quavers, that is eighth notes, and one of them is in crotchets, that's quarter notes. So they sort of interweave and overlap like that in a very beautiful musical metaphor for what Klaus Groth is trying to describe. Yeah, do you want to give it a bash?
Let's bash it.
How does this work again? I kind of go...
You play, I sing.
Oh, I can't hear you. I can't hear you. I'll just start, shall I? Okay, here we go.
Wie Melodien zieht es mir leise durch den Sinn, wie nimmt das Wort und fasst es und führt es vor das Aug. Wie Nebelgrau erblasst es und schwindet wie ein Hauch. Und schwindet wie ein Hauch. Und dennoch ruht im Reime verborgen wohl ein Duft, den mild aus stillem Keime ein feuchtes Auge ruft. Den mild aus stillem Keime ein feuchtes Auge ruft.
So what you hear is there's this literally unbroken quaver movement throughout the whole song. So even though it goes through several color changes and dips, emotional dips, and then blossoms again, there's just this continual line, flows and flows and flows, up and down and around and about in itself and through itself, like tying knots, through the whole song from A to Z, and it never stops until the last chord. There's literally something happening on every single eighth note.
You have a
beat
feeling
of the whole
that
song.
it never lands with this.
Yeah.
It's always hovering. Because, you know, again, and will he get it? Yeah, probably, sort
Yeah.
of. I mean, we have
It
this
never
beautiful
lands.
song.
That's right. You can never grasp it until maybe the last plagal cadence, the last sort of consoling 4-1 finish. Yeah. Which is, as we know from our music theory, a sort of a very contented way
religious
to end a piece,
or
almost
contented.
with a holy sort of mood to it. So it's like a Thanksgiving sort of idea. We say thank you that we're able to be artists. So I think, what did I want to say? Yeah, these intangible things. So I think the what we tried to get when we performed it or when we recorded it was this sort of this sense of flow of rubato in it that's not where it's never you're never able to sort of pin it down. So there are beautiful moments where you have to take a bit of time to sing a certain interval in the melody in a beautiful way, or to express a certain word in the way that you need to, or to bring out this beautiful thirds motif. To take a little time here and there, but you can't use the rubato as a way of putting a nail in something. Yeah, there's no rubato that's like we're making a big point here, because that again would kill the motion, this intangible floating motion. So it has to keep going even though there are dips.
It's a feeling of you're going on a kind of an oval that's slightly diagonal rather than a circle. So you're and that's how it always has to feel. And that as soon as you come down, you're just about to go up again. So as you say, you never quite arrive. You never quite arrive until then. You finally do at the end. And
Even
then
the first melody that you sing is like that, which is of course genius inspiration from Brahms. I mean, I don't know how he came up with that, because that's something quite incredible. How beautiful is that to sing, Simon? I mean, that must be sort of physical pleasure when you sing a line like that, right?
It's the endorphins just burst out singing that. Absolutely. And well, look, I think we have to wind it up
Yeah,
for this
can I
Brahms
just?
song.
I didn't. You can cut this out if you want, Simon. But there is something I wanted to say. It's quite important because you'd think the way we were talking about this poem, you'd think it was clear cut. There's a good bit. The first verse, everything's good, inspiration, color, perfume. Second verse, bad. You put a word on it and it dies. Third verse, good again. And because we can make a beautiful poem out of it, beautiful song out of it. But of course, Brahms is cleverer than that and subtler and more artistic than that. And there's so much beauty in the melancholy of the second verse. Wie Nebelgrau erblasst es und schwindet wie ein Hauch. The way it slips down chromatically further and further down and lands on F sharp minor, which is one of my favorite keys, one of my top 10 favorite keys, by the way. I'd like to add that at this point. So when I get to that bit, und schwindet wie ein Hauch, landing on F sharp minor, it's always a great pleasure. I mean, it's also beautiful. It's not. He hasn't done a hatchet job on it and made the second verse into something kind of dull and ugly. But he's given us a sense of how there's beauty in exploring these themes of death and disappearance and loss. And when the dream has disappeared, you still think about the dream. There's something still there, which then of course blossoms. There's the chyme, the seed of the idea is still there. Even though it's gone into F sharp minor. Okay, I just wanted to add that. But yeah, we can wind it up now.
I'm glad that you have a top 10 favourite keys. I'd like to know what are the 2 keys that you don't like, because there's only 12. Well, or 24.
I think 24.
Yeah.
Not to mention all those modes.
Oh, all them modes. They're so moody all the time. Edward, thank you very much. What a pleasure, and I really hope that this video is useful to anyone studying this song as well for the first time. It is a beautiful song, and we'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear your versions of it, so please do send us any videos of your versions of it. And of course, Digital Leader Salon is something that Edward and I have started now. We've been doing it for about 4 months, and in 2020, to celebrate our 10-year anniversary of working together, and Wie Melodien is on our Brahms disc, songs of loss and betrayal. Not much loss or betrayal in this song, but you can't. Titles for CDs,
well,
they're not
when you think
science.
of a title and you've got to squeeze everything in your program into that, then you can, there is loss, because there's the idea that you lose, isn't there? There's a dream you have and you lose it, and try to make a poem out of it or a song, it's lost. And what you
I think we need to go through every single song and
out
find
of it is not actually what it was. So there is loss.
Okay, I'm proven wrong. You can support us. We really appreciate it. You can support us by going on PayPal, paypal.me/Simon Wallfisch, and put in Digital Leader Salon in your payment reference. Or you can buy our CD. We would be really happy if you bought our CD, and we'll sign it for you. You can also subscribe, and you can share this video and tell all your friends about us. And if any of your friends happen to be running major festivals, then definitely tell them about us, because we would love to come and do an actual concert. Next week, all being well, I don't want to jinx it now, but I'm going to be traveling to Switzerland. And I hope, Edward, that we can actually do an episode, or perhaps we can even fit in a couple, Digital Leader Salons live from your cellar studio together in the same room.
It would be so cool.
It would be amazing. I promise that I will shower and not be smelly for you, because I'll cut that bit out. I can't wait, Edward, to see you, and congratulations again on the latest Rushton edition. And I cannot wait to see that baby.
Yeah, me too, yeah.
So please tune in next week for the next Digital Leader Salon, where Edward and I will be together in one room.
Yeah. Thanks, Simon, and it was a pleasure talking to you after 2 weeks break. And so see you soon.
Bye.
Bye. Cool.